Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com. Today we're going to make a strawberry Breton Tart, and this is what it looks like. We start with a really soft and tender pastry crust. We're going to top that with a pistachio flavored pastry cream, and then on top of that, fresh strawberries and finely chopped pistachio nuts. So we're going to start. The first thing is to make our pastry. Really, this is a Sauble Breton pastry. If you have an electric stand mixer like I have here, you could use your paddle attachment. You could use a hand mixer, or really, you could use just a large bowl with a wooden spoon. The first thing you will need is a half a cup, which is 113 grams of butter, salted or unsalted. Have it at room temperature. And I'm just going to beat this just until it gets nice and creamy. Okay. Now when you're making this particular type of dough, we don't want to incorporate a lot of air, so keep your mixer speed on medium-low for everything. Because this is quite a dense textured pastry. Now I'm going to add a half a cup plus 1 tablespoon, which is 115 grams of granulated white sugar. And then I'm just going to beat them together until they're nice and smooth. So again, medium-low speed. Okay, looks good. We're just beating them together. We don't want to, as I said, beat too much air into this. And as always, make sure to scrape the sides and the bottom of your bowl. So we want to make sure everything gets mixed together. So now what you will need is 3 large egg yolks, and we want our egg yolks at room temperature. That's about 50 grams. So I'm just going to put in like 1 and beat that in. Again, medium-low speed. And then I'm going to add the other 2. And then if you want, you don't have to, I'm going to add the seeds from half a vanilla bean. You don't have to, or you could add like a half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, about 2 grams. Now this is a vanilla bean. When you buy vanilla beans, you want to make sure they're nice and soft, not those ones that are all kind of dry and shriveled. No good. So just straighten it out. And I'm going to only use a half, and I'm going to put the other half aside because we will be making pastry cream, and I'll use it in that. And then once you flatten it out, just take a sharp knife, and then you just want to kind of cut through that outer, right down the center, and then just open the bean up. I just take the back of a knife, if I can get this open, and just scrape all those wonderful beans out of there. Like that. And then just keep this, let it dry on your counter for a bit, and then you could put it into your sugar bowl, and you have vanilla flavored sugar. So lots of beans there. So I'm just going to beat those egg yolks and the vanilla beans in there. Seeds. As you can see, that is really yellow from the egg yolks. So I'm going to beat that just a touch more. Okay, so now what I have in a separate bowl is 1 1/4 cups, which is 160 grams of all-purpose flour. You may know that as plain flour. To that, I'm just going to add a half a teaspoon, 2 grams of salt. I'm using kosher salt. I find it has a milder flavor than your regular table salt, but what you could use, or you could even use a sea salt. And then I'm adding 3 teaspoons, 11 grams of baking powder. And that's going to give a nice lift and a really nice light and airy texture to our pastry. And then I'm just whisking it together. You could sift it. So now I'm going to add about half of the flour and just beat that in. Okay, a little scrape. And then just the rest of the flour. And we are done. Okay, so that's our pastry. Now we do have to chill this. It is quite soft at this point, and we do need to roll it out. Just make sure all that flour is mixed in. And so I have a piece of plastic wrap here. So put that. Now you will need to chill this at least, I would say, 3 to 4 hours. You know, what I tend to do is make the pastry one day and then just let it chill overnight. You could actually let it chill for a couple days in the refrigerator, or this pastry can be frozen for a month or so. So what I'm going to do is just kind of form it into a round, and then I'm going to chill it for probably 3 to 4 hours. And then when we come back, we will roll out our pastry. So now we are ready to roll out our pastry, but first preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius, and then you will need an 8-inch, 20-centimeter pan. Now you could use a spring-form pan, which is what I'm going to use, and this has a clamp and the 2 pieces, or really you could just use a cake pan or even an 8-inch, 20-centimeter tart pan. So you have some choices, whatever you have in the house. And then I'm just going to put this together, and then I'm just going to spray this with the non-stick spray. You could butter it. And then I like to line, just to make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan, I just like to take a round of parchment paper and put that right in there. Okay. Simple enough. So now we're going to roll out our pastry. You will need, of course, a rolling pin and flour. You always want to flour your surface so it doesn't stick as we're rolling. And now this is can be a soft pastry. Do not worry about it cracking. And as always, when you're rolling out pastry, keep moving it around to make sure it's not sticking. Now, you could use a ruler because we are just going to fill the bottom of the pan with the pastry. So we want it at the 8-inch, 20-centimeter round. Try to get it at, even thickness. What I'm actually going to do is just take my pan and just put it, because that gives me a pretty good indication. It's almost there. I always like to rub my hand over the top, because that way I can tell if it's like even thickness. Okay, I think that's good. Lift that and put it in here, and then just kind of you have to press it into fit the pan. And you want just straight. We're not going to build up the sides or anything, just a flat disc. So now what we're going to do is bake this for, I find, about 25 minutes, at least in my oven. Everybody's oven can be a little different. So I would check it several minutes before that, because you don't want to overbake it. And what you're looking for, it will rise, it will turn a nice light golden brown. And if you take your finger and press it into the center, it'll spring back. Or you could take a toothpick, insert it into the center, and it will come out clean. So about 25 minutes. Okay, so our sablé Breton is now done. You can see it, beautiful golden brown. Press the center, it springs back. So I've just put it on a wire rack. We're going to let that cool. And now we are going to start our pastry cream. So I have a saucepan here, and I'm going to pour in 1 cup, 240 milliliters or 240 grams of milk. I'm using a what you would call full fat whole milk. That'll give us a really nice rich pastry cream. And then I'll just move this. You remember we had a half of vanilla bean left over when we made our pastry, so I'm going to use the other half. So I've again scraped the seeds out. But what I'm going to do is not only am I going to put the seeds in, I'm also going to put the bean in there. That's going to flavor our milk and our pastry cream. So now I'm going to put the, I'm going to heat my milk on medium-high speed. I want to, on heat, I mean, want it to just start to foam up, kind of bubbles around the outside edge. So I'm just going to leave that. And then while that's happening, I have 3 large egg yolks, about 50 grams. Put that in there, whisk that. And you want a heat-proof bowl. I've got stainless steel here. I'm going to add 1/4 cup, 50 grams of granulated white sugar to sweeten it. And then we need to thicken our pastry cream. So I'm going to add 1 tablespoon, about 10 grams of cornstarch, and 1 tablespoon, 10 grams, if I can get it out, of flour. And I'm just going to whisk that all together. Make sure you whisk all these things right away. You don't want that flour and everything sitting on top of your egg yolks. You want to mix it all in. So, okay, that's good. And bring this up to just to a boil. Okay, so it's starting to bubble. So we really watch it carefully at this point. We just want to catch it when it just starts to foam up. There we go. And take that, and you can see it's just starting to foam, because once that starts, it just really quickly. So now, what we're going to do is I'm going to add a little of the hot milk into the egg mixture to temper it, because we don't want to cook those eggs yolks. So just whisk. Add a little more. Slop there a little. Like that. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is get my milk and then pour my egg mixture in there. Like I said, do it slowly. Temper. We don't want to cook those yolks. Okay. If you did find that you had pieces of cooked egg, do not worry. Just strain your mixture and put it back in the pot, and then we can cook it and no one will know. There is a fix for it. So there we go. So now I am going to put this back on the heat. Let's take that bean out for a sec. Put it on medium heat, and now at this point you want to whisk it, or if you have a spatula, you could use your spatula, but we do not want those eggs to cook. So we're going to bring it up to a full boil, because we don't want that. If you don't cook it enough, what you will find will happen with your pastry cream, it'll kind of have that starchy taste. So that's why you need to make sure you cook this long enough to get rid of that. And then we want our pastry cream, the flour and the cornstarch will thicken our pastry cream at the same time, which is what we want. We're almost at a boil. So you can see, it's already starting to thicken. Now once it comes to a boil, keep it on like medium heat, and then we are going to cook it for about 2 minutes, whisking or stirring constantly. So you want to smooth out the lumps and thicken that, and like I said, so you don't get that starchy taste. So about 2 minutes. Okay, that's good. It's been about 2 minutes. So this is really nice and smooth and thick. Now again, if you find you have some lumps in there, give it a really good stir, but if you notice that there's a little bit of cooked yolk, then strain it. Do not worry. And I'm going to put that, my bean back in there, because now what we're going to do, I have some plastic wrap here on a baking sheet. I'm just going to pour that in here. We need to cool this down to about 70 degrees, a little cooler in room temperature, which is 21°C. So I am going to just cover this with the plastic wrap and put it into the refrigerator until it gets to about that temperature. Because after that, we will be adding our pistachio paste and some butter to make it really nice and thick and buttery rich. So I'm just going to cover that. You want to cover your cream right away because you do not want like a film on top. And I'm going to put it in the fridge and let it cool off. And when we come back, we will finish up our pastry cream. So now our pastry cream has chilled. So now I don't need the whole amount. We're going to use about 2/3 of a cup, which is 170 grams of pastry cream. So if you have a scale, this is the time to use it. So I'm just going to measure off. Like I said, if not, then just measure out 2/3 of a cup. And then you can keep the rest of pastry cream. You can serve it with fresh fruit, make some more tarts. A little more. And this will, your pastry cream will keep like probably about 5 days well wrapped in the refrigerator. So there, okay. So now I have that. And what we're going to add is 5 tablespoons, 70 grams of butter. And have your butter, the thing you're looking for is the pastry cream and the butter to be about the same temperature. So then when we mix them together, it'll be nice and smooth. So both, I have them both at about 70 degrees, 21°C. So what really, if we want to get technical, it's a pastry cream with butter added, or you could call it a mousseline cream. So now what I'm going to do is beat it. I'm using just a hand mixer. You could use your stand mixer with the paddle attachment, or really just a wire whisk, and just beat these up together. Scrape it down. I'll use this one. Okay, and now I'm going to add, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon, about 15 grams of pistachio nut paste, and this is what it looks like. It adds a really great flavor to our pastry cream. And it usually comes, at least I bought mine in a can, little can, and you know, I find it is some grocery stores, but I just ordered it online. And if you have extra, which you will, left over, you can just freeze it. Now, if you don't want to bother buying a whole can for this, and you think you'll never use it again, then you don't have to have really any flavoring. This pastry cream is excellent just with the butter. I mean, and the pastry cream is excellent, but we're taking it to that next level. We're adding the pistachio nut paste, so I'm just going to beat that in. So there we have it. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, if you want to make it even lighter, you could beat it longer. I'm going to try. Oh, very nice. So now, I have my, the Sable Breton. Just as a side note, this is excellent just as it is. I mean, you could just, you know, cut it into wedges and have it. It's excellent. You don't need to put a pastry cream, and then just, see, and then I'm just going to turn it over and put it on my serving plate. Like I said, this is a really nice kind of cakey cookie, great on its own. I mean, we're putting this pastry cream on top. You know, other suggestions would be like a lemon curd would be very nice, or you could just have whipped cream and berries. So don't feel, if you don't like a pastry cream or you don't want to make this, you don't have to. So what I'm going to do is just put that top and with the back of the spoon, or I have a spatula here, offset spatula, just, I'm going to leave a bit of a border around the outside just so you could see. So I'm just going to spread this, and then I'm going to clean up, and then when we come back, we will put our strawberries on top. So now for the final part of our tart, what I like to do is I've just taken some pistachios and then finely chopped them. I just did it in my food processor. You could just do it with a knife on a cutting board. And then I just like to sprinkle just a little over the, because then that kind of complements, the pastry cream, it doesn't have a real strong pistachio taste, so then this just adds to that, gives a little crunch. Plus, when we put our fruit on top, it'll the nuts will kind of absorb the juices from our strawberries. So now I have strawberries. Now make sure you wash them first, and then I just take and cut off the stem so you can flat, and then you can just, I usually start on the outside, make a ring, and then work my way in. Now, do not think you have to just use strawberries. Raspberries are excellent, blackberries, blueberries. I mean, really, any fruit you want. Or you could mix the fruits, but just kind of, okay, that looks pretty good. So there. Now you could leave it just like that. I think that's beautiful. And if you were serving it right away, but we're gonna go over the top today. Why not? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna glaze with a apricot preserves. And what that does is, one, makes the fruit all nice and shiny, and two, that also keeps it nice and fresh so the fruit does not dry out. So what I just took is a quarter of a cup, about 60 milliliters of apricot preserves. I heated it up just in the microwave. You could do it on a saucepan on the stove. And then I'm straining it because you do have quite a bit of pulp from the apricot preserves. And then at this point, you want a fairly thin. You can see that's pretty thick. And I don't want it like big goops of the glaze on my fruit. So I'm going to thin this out. You could just thin it out with water. Personally, I like a little Grand Marnier, so that's what I'm going to do. And stir that in. That looks good. Yeah. And then, oh, I smell that Grand Marnier. Very good. And then I just have a pastry brush. This is a little time consuming, but what I'm going to do, we're just going to like paint on the glaze. So just go all the way around the fruit. You don't want it too thick. You don't want, I don't know whether you've ever seen them, sometimes when you buy them, it's like big globs. You don't want that. Just a nice thin coating. Keeps, like I said, it keeps the strawberries nice and fresh. And it also, it just finishes off, makes it look more professional. So I'm just going to finish this off, and then when we come back, we will try a piece. Okay, so this is our last one. If you have any leftover glaze, just cover it and put it back in the fridge for the next time. And then when you want to use it again, you just heat it up just a little to soften it in the microwave. So there we have it, our strawberry Breton Tart. Isn't that beautiful? It almost is too pretty to cut into. Now, this is a tart that, because we're using cut fruit, it is at its best the day it's made, because the fruit will bleed into the cream. So it may not look as good the second day, but it still tastes wonderful. So I'm just going to take just a little piece. And like I said, other fruits besides strawberries I've made it with raspberries, which is, again, excellent, as is blackberry, blueberries. So I'm going to take that. Hard to cut, the strawberry. And a little tart cream. So what you have is the crust is, it's buttery, it's sweet, and it's so soft and tender. It really is a nice pastry. And then, of course, the pastry cream is, you get the vanilla. It's very rich. It's very smooth and creamy. And I like that little bit of pistachio paste. So if you can get a hold of that, I would try it. And then, of course, the strawberries. And besides the glaze looking good and keeping the fruit fresh, it also, has a nice flavor to it. So try this tart. And until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.